We want to hear what you think of this season's books. Comment on our socials or email us at connect, CONNECT, at bookinterrupted.com, or please leave us a voicemail at 416-900-8603. We would love to hear from you.
Parental guidance is recommended because this episode has mature topics and strong language. Here are some moments you can look forward to during this episode of Book Interrupted.
And then she invited anybody who wants to come and watch it with me. I'm going to watch it again. You know, like she loved it.
Apparently it's quite gruesome. And I have a friend who's obsessed with horror movies and has watched thousands of them. And she says this is the best movie she's ever watched for a horror movie in her entire life.
Really?
They didn't need to change it. They didn't need to change anything about it. They changed storylines. They didn't need to change anything. It was perfection, that book.
It's Hamish's quarterquell, isn't it?
That's amazing because that's what, when we did the season, we said that would be the best.
It was so long.
It was so long.
It took us days to finish that movie.
It was like
days.
days.
I'm not joking. We had to be like, well, we got to go to bed.
We don't have to talk about Twilight, but I done the thing with Twilight.
Oh my God.
But
I think we have
BFG
to
too.
in every season recap.
I mean, I can tell you things I didn't like more than, I mean, out of the books.
And Roald Dahl's books are not that kind of like clean, happy childhood kids book.
You're plugging the library again.
Support your local library. Anyway, let's see.
Mind, body, and soul. The information is the goal. Try to learn something new without being distracted. Mind, body, and soul. Information is the goal. Try to learn something new without being disrupted. Mind, body, and soul. Inspiration is the goal. Interrupted.
Welcome to Book Interrupted, a book club for busy people to connect and one that celebrates life's interruptions. Let's listen in to this episode's group discussion. Welcome to our Season 4 recap. On our Season 4, the theme for Season 4 was books with movies and or TV series.
Okay, I have a list of the books/movies that we watched. If you want me to say them in order.
Yes, please. Go for it.
So, first one was Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, Leah's book pick. And then we had Ashley's book pick, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. Then we had Kim's book pick, Killers of the Flower Moon by David Gran. Followed by Sarah's book pick, A Long Way Home by Saru Ryerly.
Yeah, Ryerly.
And the movie was called Lion. Right?
Lion. Yep.
Yeah. My book pick was The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. Kara's book pick, The BFG by Roald Dahl. And Virginia's book pick, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. Lindsay's book pick, The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. We did so many books this season. It's ridiculous how many we did.
And like different genres. You're looking at them now, all of them, like so many different genres, from like nonfiction to fiction to children's
Self-help.
books to self-help to
memoir.
Dystopia.
To romance,
Steamy romance.
which we realized was not so steamy.
Many.
But
I was talking to a friend. She likes steamy romance novels. That's like her escape. She likes that.
yeah,
I was like, you could be on our podcast as a guest if you want. She was like, maybe. I was like, it'd be great. Because she reads this genre as her escape, she'd probably pick the best one or the one most women focused or whatever. Anyway.
yeah.
Great. Tell her
Honeydew
she
is
can
here.
put in
That's
a
what I
fan
told her.
request in to be a fan book. We have a fan book for next year. Fans can go to our website in the new year and we will have the dates for the next fan book. And if you want to put a proposal in for any book that's women centered, you could go to the Book Interrupted website at www.bookinterrupted.com/fans and put in your suggestion. And you just have to be available on the dates we record. Then you'll be part of our fan book choice and we'll give you your own promo picture just like the other fans, and you can come back forever, just like 2 of our fans. We've had 4 fans so far, and 2 of them constantly come back to read other books, and you could do that too if you
I
wanted
know,
to.
I love that. And one of the authors comes back from time to time. I wonder how she's doing.
I know. I was thinking about, so last year, but we read so many books. Last year, I was thinking about reaching out to Kirsten and asking her if she wanted to do a fanfic. I thought about it in the summer, but I was just like, I don't know if I
We're
could
so
read another
busy.
book. I actually need
We're
the
so
summer
busy.
for a break. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
she's
Also
busy. Like,
dying.
she's such a busy lady doing all sorts of stuff.
Oh my gosh, she's always on social media.
Well,
Yeah.
she'd probably want to come back, so you should invite her. My author of my book next year is Canadian, so I'm going to reach out to her. And it does say in the book that if you want her to join your book club or whatever, to reach out. So I'm going to do that. So maybe we'll have another.
Yes,
That'll
do
be
that.
I'm gonna
That'd be
try.
so
This is
great.
like
Yeah,
a-
I'd love that.
If you want to go on a podcast, maybe you should just write a book and in the book say, invite me to your podcast, and then I can meet all these people. I wonder if I'll ever write a book. I've always wanted to, but I get on these projects and then I get really excited at the beginning, but I'm really bad at finishing things because I get excited by the next project before it comes up. I don't know.
Sarah, do you want to talk about how there's only the 3 of us here today?
Yes. So the reason we only have 3 people here today is because, unfortunately, Kara had a staff meeting she couldn't get out of. Ashley was called into work last minute, literally a half an hour before we came on. Her work called her in. Kim had a really rough weekend, and she was the first one being like, I'm sorry, guys, and she always comes. So I'm like, of course, yeah, no problem. And then Leah has woke up with a migraine. She's like, I'm so sorry, I have a bad migraine. I can't make it. Yeah. I was like, oh, well, that's fine.
That's life.
Yeah, Ashley sent a message. If anybody wants to mention how awesome the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is, that's fine with
That
me.
was her
That's fine
favorite.
by me. Yeah. So she's gonna do a little personal journal, she said, just to say what her favorites are, but it's very clear it's a Hunger Games book.
Yeah,
Like,
and
it's
movies.
Ashley.
She bought it
Oh,
and then
right.
watched it over and over. And then she invited anybody who wants to come and watch it with me. I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah.
She loved it. I finally watched that movie, by the way.
Oh, and
Mhm.
what do you think?
Yeah, I got it from the library. I'm always plugging the library. I'm like, go to your library. They will get funding if it's used. And if nobody uses it, guess what? One day we won't have libraries. That's the way of the world these days. They're like, is this costing us money? Let's just cut it off. But people love their library. Anyway, go to your library if you have one, guys. Yeah, so I got it from the library. Yeah, and it was fine.
I thought it was good
okay.
compared to the
Yeah.
book.
I thought it was kind of like in line with the other Hunger Games movies where like the book obviously contains a lot because you kind of know what's happening in the people's heads and their motivations, and I think that's hard to come across to bring out in a movie without having an actual voice as an inner monologue thing, which some movies have. But yeah, I thought the music was great. I think they nailed it. They could have really messed up on the music, but the music actually added to it, so that's nice.
I don't even remember, but Ashley told us how she actually sang all the songs. Like, it wasn't just dubbed in. She sang it while they were
I got
filming.
that like it seemed like she was, but I guess if people
Yeah.
are really good at lip syncing, you wouldn't know either way. But it did seem.
Yeah.
I think there's a new Hunger Games. Isn't there coming out? A new book?
Yes.
Is there?
Yeah, I keep
The-
getting an ad for it.
It's Hamish's quarter quell, isn't it?
That's amazing, because that's what, when we did the season, we
Yeah.
said that would be the best next
Let me
one
double
would be
check.
that
It's
one.
Oh, wait,
called
is-
it's called Sunrise on the Reaping. It's coming out. It's a pre-order released on March 18th, 2025. It says, Hamish is his
Amazing.
story. It says
Yeah,
on the
'cause we said that.
50th annual Hunger Games. Anyways, it's him.
I wonder who's gonna play him in the movie, because they're totally gonna do a movie, and it can't be Woody Harrelson because he won't look like a young Woody Harrelson. He'll look like an old
Mhm.
one.
Because he isn't old. Because he
He
is
isn't
actually
old. He is an old Woody
and he's
Harrelson.
old.
He is old. Yeah, that's awesome.
Interesting.
Okay, so
So-
what do you want us to do?
I think we should go around and say what our favorite book was this season, and
I
then
know.
separate from movie, just what your favorite book was, and then we'll go into what your favorite movie was, and then we'll talk about what book you thought translated to movie and or TV series best. So let's start with favorite book.
I'm looking at the list going, not mine.
I think like for me, it was between Lessons in Chemistry and The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Both fantastic
both
books for
really
different
good.
reasons, but both really
Mhm.
well written as well. And because one of the things I like to read for relaxation and stuff is like cellular biology and like DNA stuff, genetics and all of that. So that was very interesting. And having the history there, that was a really good one. And then Lessons in Chemistry was great because the female character was Elizabeth Zott was so strong, and she was such a perfect heroine. You're like rooting for her. It's like she was making the rest of women look better by not backing down ever from who she was, unapologetically yourself. And it was really well written. I enjoyed both.
I bought the book Lessons in Chemistry, but I haven't read it yet, and I wasn't there for the taping. But is it a nonfiction or fiction?
Fiction.
It's fiction.
Fiction.
Yeah. I was thinking it was nonfiction for some reason.
Yeah, so I'll go next if you want. It's my favorite book too.
Oh, good. Well, I have it sitting on my desk, so I will read it at some point.
I said that at the last recap that I already knew it was going to be because I had already read it. I predicted that would be my favorite because it's a 5-star book for me. I love that book. I didn't mind reading it again. And then the other two I really enjoyed was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and then The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Those are my top ones, but I still like those were probably like 4-star ones. The other two, maybe Henrietta Lacks I gave a 5. I can't remember. But Lessons in Chemistry, Elizabeth Zott character, and there was so much to the book and it was so well written. Oh, and remember that story that we found out about the woman who wrote it? Bonnie Garmis,
Graham?
Right? We watched something that she was telling a story about how she was in a staff meeting or something. Wasn't that someone
She had
stole
done a
her idea?
presentation, what direction that she thinks they should take. And after she was done, nobody said anything. And then somebody, maybe in charge, somebody else, some man says, we're not going to do that, but this is what I think we should do. And he named the points that she had like on the screen right in front. And everyone's like, that's a wonderful idea to him, not to her. And she was supposed to go back and do some work assignment, but instead she went back and started writing Lessons in Chemistry. And it's so
Awesome.
relatable because like anybody who works in a big company like that, that is a woman, it's happened where you say an idea and then someone's like, no, we're not doing that. And then they say your exact words. I once had a boss who did that to me, but he made me explain something to him and I was writing notes on his whiteboard. And then the next day he calls me in to explain that to me. Like I didn't know what I was talking about, but it was my writing. It was even in my writing. And he was like being super condescending. And it's just so funny how common it is, right? So it makes Bonnie Garmis also kind of a hero to women, being like, thank you for writing it down, because when you're being gaslit, you want that like somebody tell you, no, you're not crazy. That actually happens a lot. It happens to other people, not just you. So if you're wondering why it's happening, it's just our culture. It's like accepted because the rest of the people in the room in this story that she was telling, nobody said anything. Nobody said, wait a minute, but that's her idea right up on the screen right there. Sorry.
Horrible.
I ran.
So if you haven't read, like Lindsay, read it immediately.
I bought it. I was going to read it, but I couldn't come to the taping and then I didn't read it. And it's sitting there. So I will.
Didn't read because we read 9 books this season. It's a lot. I've got another book club. I felt like I have all these other books that are not in either book clubs that I want to read. Oh my gosh, I got to give her all these books.
Well, and some of them are more deep or big or, not all were easy books. So.
Yeah, but you should read it. And anyone else is listening, definitely read it. Like I couldn't put it down even the second reading, even though I knew what was going to happen. It's such an exceptional book.
Great.
Exceptional.
Yeah.
And Lindsay, what was your favorite?
Well, I didn't read actually
most.
I read most of them actually. And I've already read Eat, Pray, Love before. So that was, and then I'm looking at the list. I just didn't read Lessons in Chemistry. And I'm sure I read BFG when I was younger, but I can't remember. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks was my favorite. I love learning while I'm reading too. And I felt like I learned some things and it was such a powerful story and it surprised me and it was well written and I just got the most out of it. I mean, I can tell you things I didn't like more than, out of the books.
Let's go to that one.
I did like the Hunger Games one, The Ballad of the Somber Stakes. I like that series, so that was cute. I mean, my book was not my favorite, even though I'd read it already. I found that the most interesting. I think sometimes books, just like relationships or everything, come to you in certain times in your life, and you're like, oh, you're in a great relationship with someone, but then if you'd met them another time, you would have never gotten along. And I think that with books, it's the same thing. Like sometimes you pick up a book and you're like, this is the time I need this book. And like Sarah was saying, this is the best book or whatever. But had she maybe read it 10 years ago or read it 10 years from now, maybe you'd be like, oh, that was okay, right?
That's how I felt about Eat, Pray, Love. I
Yeah.
loved it the first time I read it. And then we read it for the book club. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
no.
I figured I shouldn't show up because I know that's Kim's favorite book, I think, or what used to be. And I was like, I don't want to, I'm not showing up because I really dislike that book and the movie and the premise and the everything about it. So, but maybe if I'd read it again, I would have liked it. I don't know. Anyway, so I feel like The Hating Game was one of those books where I was like, well, when I first read it, I was like, oh, this is light and fluffy and that's what I needed and whatever. And when I read it again, I was like, oh, this is not so great. So I thought Killers of the Flower Moon, I liked the story. I just found it such a drag to read. A Long Way Home. I mean, the writing wasn't the best either of that one, but it's a good story as well. So yeah, I guess that's all the books. But I really liked The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Some of the other ones I wasn't as into.
Yeah. So for me, The Big Friendly Giant, I had read it before for my kids and it was fine. But because I was reading it again for my kids, I forgot how annoying and how often he talks in his gibberish language. It was frustrating
read
to
it
read it out
loud.
loud. Yeah. So I really did not enjoy that during this book cycle because I was reading it aloud to my kids. And then, yeah, my book, A Long Way Home. So for the movies, I like that movie. The book was, yeah, not well written and kind of long-winded. So it wasn't my favorite. What else? Like you, The Hating Game wasn't my favorite. Eat, Pray, Love. I used to love that book. Didn't really enjoy it. It was different than I remembered. So it was like you said, not the right time. Yeah. Oh, and I already mentioned that I liked the Hunger Game one. So this season was good. I think I was really good to do books turned into movies.
What was your favorite movies then? If we did favorite books.
So my favorite movie, I guess my favorite movie was the Hunger Game one, and then maybe A Long Way Home. I thought the Long Way Home movie was good. The kid was so cute in it. I really like that movie. But I think the Hunger Games, if I had to pick a movie that I enjoyed the most, probably that one. I mean, The Immortal Life of Henry Lacks was okay too, but it was in the book. Like the book was so much.
There's a lot in the book too. You wouldn't be able to put it into a movie, I think.
But I liked the
Either.
movie.
But I thought the movie was fine. Yeah.
But it wasn't my top movie.
I think the movie did a good job of
Yeah,
it.
me too. Lessons in Chemistry, that show I probably would have liked if I had never read the book, but reading the book made me hate that show. Not hate it, but being like, this is not the book at all. You changed way too much.
It removed the essence of the book. It took the essence out.
They took out Elizabeth Dott's amazing character. They made her different. But if I had watched it without ever reading the book, I probably would have liked it. But knowing that they changed a whole bunch of things, then I didn't enjoy it as much. But I think it was fine.
Would you have liked to have watched that show first and then read the book after, or it's better to just read the book?
Maybe
Just read the book.
just read the book. But if I had watched the show and then read the book, I would have been like, oh, this book is so amazing. And maybe I would have remembered Elizabeth Zott as a person in the book instead of
The weaker Zot that they have in the show. Yes, the less
Yeah.
sure of herself Zot that they have in the show.
Hmm.
I don't know. I was watching
just-
the show with my husband and he didn't watch the whole series. He came down on some episodes to watch a little bit. And he was like, oh my God. He's like, this is bad. The episodes that he was watching, he's like, the writing on this episode is really bad. He's like, is this what the book was like? And I was like, no, it wasn't what the book was about at all. Like the later episodes are just, they're too much. They're just not.
They didn't need to change it. They didn't need to change anything about it. They changed storylines. They didn't need to change anything. It was perfection, that book,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I hate
my
when they
opinion.
do that.
Right?
If you're going to be true, I understand you got to
But
shorten
this-
it and whatever, but don't like change the essence of
I think it was more like they're
But-
like, oh man, this story makes men look bad. Let's switch that around instead.
The directors
know.
were women, but the writer was a man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's fine. Yeah, I think Hunger Games and then A Long Way Home. That's how I'd go. What about you guys?
Mayor?
Well, I never got to see Lion, the Long Way Home one yet. I haven't been able to find it.
Well, that should be at your library.
I know.
You
and
should
it
be able to,
wasn't.
yeah.
I think I could probably request it from another library because you can do that. You can get books or media from anywhere in our province through the library if it's at a different library. So I got to try harder on that
You're
one.
plugging the library again.
Support your local library. Anyway, let's see. The movies. The movies. Obviously, I did
Yeah.
not like the Lessons in Chemistry TV show. And the Hating Game, I did not. It
Oh,
was just
God.
too corny.
That was worse than the book.
But some people
Bad.
love that movie, and I think maybe it's
Yeah.
a generational thing because when I look up reviews for the movie, some people are like, I can't stop watching it. I watch it over and over, and you're like, oh, there's a certain audience, and I'm not it.
Maybe.
If we're talking about movies that were probably true to the book, the BFG, I think, did a good job of keeping up with that creepy Roald doll feel. The first time we tried to watch the BFG years ago, my kids, who they're not scared of many movies, they love the second Harry Potter with the basilisk and stuff. They're like, it's fine. Or Jurassic Park. I don't know. They've watched that. They'd watched that before the BFG and they were like, we don't like this. The giant is really creepy, you know? So it took us a while to watch that movie. And Roald Dahl's books are not that kind of like clean, happy childhood kids book. Some could argue that they're not really children's books in some senses. You know what I mean? Like they're very they got a lot going
They're
on.
dark.
Some disturbing. Yeah, they're kind of dark. So I think the movie did a good job of being kind of dark. To be honest, I don't know if I would watch any of the movie again. But what did I like best?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know.
I don't know that I liked any of the movies as much as the books.
Not as much as the books. No.
No, but even then, I found The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was a good movie on its own, but there were so many things missing from the book, which I didn't like. The Killers of the Flower Moon was the most painful movie. It was so long.
It was so long.
It was so long.
It was so long. It was
It took us
like
days to finish that
days.
movie.
It was like
days.
days.
I'm not
long.
joking. We had to be like, well, we gotta go to bed. We don't have whatever it was, three and a half hours to sit
It
down
was
and watch a
longer
movie.
than that, I think.
It was 3.5 hours.
It's seen longer too.
Yeah. I watched it just before our recording and I was doing it at night and I was like, oh my God. When I kept on looking, I'm like, I'm only halfway done this movie. And like, I said, I'm so late to finish that movie.
Mhm.
Like, oh my God.
And like it's such an
Yeah.
important story to tell, and it's just like a drawn out movie. The movie wasn't like the same as the book, anyways. And then
No.
Lion, I watched the movie a long time ago, so I think I like that.
It was a good movie.
But I also found the Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks movie not enough information and not as much, it's like they're all the same. And then The Hating Game was a really bad movie.
Was abysmal.
That was abysmal. That was the worst movie.
But you know,
But
it's kind of
maybe-
fun because it wasn't very long, and then my husband watched it with me, and it was fun because it's like we're laughing and being like, "Oh my God, this is too much." I don't know.
And it was worse.
The-
It was like at least the book had some kind of tension and steamy scenes and whatever. Like the movie
There
was
was
just
nothing.
No.
Yeah, the movie was bad. Just bad.
So I think that maybe the moral of the story is movies will never be as good as books. So just read the book.
Right. I think also
book.
watch the movie first. If you'll actually finish a book without knowing the ending, which I would, I'll reread a book knowing what the ending is if I enjoy it. So I think
No, I
maybe
don't-
next time I'll watch the movie first.
I don't know.
Because I would-
I disagree.
I
You
did
can
that with
finish
the
your
Hunger
thought.
Games. I didn't read the Hunger Games until last season when we did it, the first book. And so I enjoyed the movies much more. I can say that even though the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes movie is probably a higher caliber than the other Hunger Games movies, just because it was made more recent and there's more recent developments in filmmaking. Films are different than they used to be. I probably enjoyed it less than I enjoyed the first Hunger Games movies when I hadn't read the books at all. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna just pick Harry Potter as an example. When I watched the first movie before I read all the books. I read all the books. Because I watched the first movie, for the whole series, I picture those actors as the characters when I'm reading the book. I love the idea of like making up in your head what people look like and like what they are and who they are and how they walk and how they whatever. And if you watch a movie first, then you're only going to probably picture what the filmmaker wants you to
But like
see.
Harry Potter is a really good example though too, where the books are so long and they have so much in them, and characters, like, people were like upset that Peeves wasn't in the movies. I didn't feel upset about that because I'd watched all the movies way before I read the books, and I think I enjoyed the books even more. And then I enjoyed the movies more afterwards because like I learned more. I don't know. Maybe those are just good movies, even though they're not spot
Yeah,
on.
they might be. I think they are pretty good movies, even though I
Yeah.
don't like J.K. Rowling as
Yeah.
a person.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I don't know about that. But maybe you should watch them.
maybe. I think it's very personal, but I think I've decided maybe next time. Although who's kidding? Who am I kidding? I'm probably just gonna read books and never watch the movies that are associated.
Yeah, me too.
That's just more of who I am, maybe.
Yeah, I watch more movies than read books, so I'll probably watch more movies than read all the books anyways. So there you go.
I think that the only reason I watch a movie, because I usually just watch the movies I like over and over and over. Like I don't spread out to new movies very often. But if I read that book and a new movie comes up and I'm like, maybe I'll be adventurous, it's because I've already read the book.
Yeah, you want to relive the enjoyment of the book by watching the movie.
Yeah. But then it changes my perception of the book too, which I realized during this season is that it makes me, especially when I've read a book, reread, and then watched the movie and reread the book, you know what I mean? Doing that, it makes me realize the movie distorted my memory of what's in the book.
Mm.
So that happened in Lessons in Chemistry. I already read the book. I watched the TV series and then I read the book again and I was like, oh, they changed so much. But I didn't remember. And I did the same thing with, well, I've done the same thing with Twilight. We don't have to talk about Twilight, but I've done the same thing with
Oh
Twilight.
my god.
But
I
other ones,
think
like
we
the
have
BFG
to.
too.
In every season recap, we need to recap. And you know
But
what,
what do you think
listeners? Do you want to surprise listeners as to whether Twilight's part of the next season or not? Or just let them wait and see? When does the next season
No,
launch? When's the website going to be up?
our website will be up with the new season mid-December, just before Christmas, just before January 1st.
Exciting.
Yeah. Do we want to say the books we picked?
I don't
We
know.
can.
Do you want to do it with the launch or do it right now?
Let's do it now. This episode will be on January 1st, so the website will actually be finished by then.
Oh, great.
So look at our website for our new season. But
It's already up there.
If you want to see, but I'll tell you what it is too.
I'm excited about my book. I was going to go serious nonfiction, and then I was like, maybe we all need a laugh. There's so many serious books that are very good out there, but I just felt like between this podcast and then my other book club, I was just reading a lot of very serious, upsetting maybe books, and I just thought, well, maybe I just need something that I'm going to laugh out loud at, and I found this book, and I've already read it. I'll read it again. I was reading parts out loud to Dan. And he was laughing too. Like I was reading it out loud to the kids, parts of it, not all of it. It's for adults, but and they were laughing out loud. But it's got some serious bits too. It's not depressing.
Okay, so reveal it.
It's called Solutions and Other Problems by Ali Brosh.
And it's a graphic
It's a graphic-
novel. Another
It
graphic
is.
novel that we're going to give
well,
a
the
try
first
to.
one
So
didn't
there
go
we
so great.
It's not a purely graphic novel. It is a novel that's got like stories written out, and then it also has the graphic part to supplement the stories. So it's not just panels one after another. It's kind of a mix
Oh.
of drawings
Hmm.
and written full sentence storytelling. So
Our first graphic novel was Funhouse
Yes.
or Fun Home.
Fun home.
Fun Home, like
Fun
as in a
Home.
funeral home. They called the funeral home Fun Home.
Oh, yeah, right. And it was fully a graphic novel. And then we read The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, and they said graphic novel, but it was more like a story with some drawings in it. So now this is like a
Mm.
blend of the two. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
It's a little bit of both.
Yes. It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
So-
Great. All right. So everyone
Fun.
else's books. So Kim's book pick is The Memoirs of Miss Chief Eagle Testicle, a true and exact accounting of the history of Turtle Island by Kent Monkman and Giselle Gordon. And then
Oh,
Ashley's book
interesting.
pick is Lola by Melissa Schooner, Love. It's a fiction. My book pick is The Change by Kirsten Miller. It's very witchy. It also has people in perimenopause. So I was like, all right, The Change. I was feeling that at the time because I'm still waiting for I have some supplements coming.
So it's a horror film. No.
It's a horror film.
It's suspenseful.
The horror of be getting older.
Actually, it's kind of a
Thriller.
thriller. Like there is a dead body, and the one is kind of like a psychic, I think. And the police are trying to say that they think there's no suspicion. Like this woman was a drug addicted sex worker, and they're like, no, she's not. And then more bodies start being discovered, and it was these women that. Anyway,
By the way, there's a movie, speaking, we were talking about movies, called, oh God, what's it called? But it's with Demi Moore. It just came out. I haven't seen it yet, but it's a horror about getting older, and she's apparently a fitness instructor or something, and she's getting older. But anyway, apparently it's quite gruesome. And I have a friend who's obsessed with horror movies and has watched thousands of them, and she says this is the best movie she's ever watched for a horror movie in her entire life.
Really?
By Demi Moore, but it's about getting older because she thinks she's not beautiful, even though, you've seen Demi Moore.
Yeah.
It's that
And
loss of confidence
Yeah.
part.
The Substance, it's called The Substance. But go just even look up the
Trailer?
of it. Looks like
Ooh, I love horror
creepy and
movies.
scary, and like, anyway, she would raved and raved, and she's loves seen every horror movie, I think. She has the Criterion collection. So she says it's amazing. And it came out at TIFF, and she said she saw it in the theater. Should her jaw hurt because her mouth was hanging open the whole movie so much.
Oh.
If you like horror movies.
I
or
do not,
thriller.
and will never watch it, not even the trailer. But you guys watch it and tell me if you enjoy it.
Okay.
Never.
Will do.
I will
Wonderful.
avoid it like the plague.
Sorry, I
Okay, the
interrupted
next.
the list of books.
No,
so
that's
go.
great. And then Virginia is coming back again, and she picked a book, and she picked The Women by Kristen Hanna.
That one will make you very angry. I just finished it for my other book club. Very good. Well written.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everyone at the book club were like, I was so angry. in
Oh
this
no.
book. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good thing we have the witchy one before.
It's a historical fiction.
Right, about Vietnam. That's what I could see.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
Women who went to Vietnam.
Okay, and Lindsay, your book pick is We Ripped the World Apart by Charlene Carr. And,
Yeah, that one's gonna make people I think
Angry too.
upset and angry. Yeah. But my mom gave it to me because she read it and she said you have to read this book. So that's why I read the first little bit of it. So I haven't read the whole thing.
Okay, Kara's book pick is Nobody Cries at Bingo by Dawn Dermott. And that one's supposed to be funny. And I
Great.
think that one's a memoir. Anyway, so that's it. That's next season. Leah didn't pick a book, but she's just going to jump on other people's books because she is doing a year of no. She's like, I'm doing the year of no, so I have to say no, but I'll jump on someone else's book. I said, okay, great.
So I have to
Like,
say
great.
no. So she says no to everything?
Yeah.
It's a weird choice, but okay. Great.
I think because she commits to a lot of things.
Yeah, I say no a lot, so I guess.
She schedules lots of things. Like she has lots of things going on. And I think that she's kind of like me. Like she commits to something and then she does too many things. So good for her. I'm supporting her 100%. Year of no. So yeah, she'll jump on one of our books. She said, everyone send their books and she'll figure out which one she's going to jump on.
Well, maybe she'll say no.
Maybe she won't jump on any. I don't think so.
Mhm.
You're like, it wasn't a yes or no question. I just want to know which one you're on.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to?
It's funny how some people, like we've talked about this before, but some people are very yes people. Say Sarah, who's like, yes, sure, I'll do that. Yes,
I'm a
yes,
yes
yes, yes,
person.
yes. I'm like a no. And most of the time, I'm like maybe I'll see how I feel and what I'm doing, but generally, if I don't want to, then I don't.
This loops it back to the Christmas episode. You don't like the Vinyl Cafe, but the Vinyl Cafe is all about somebody saying yes and then doing whatever it takes to make that yes happen. Where you would just been like,
Yes.
I'm done. The
Yeah, this
mistake
didn't
happened.
work. Let's
Didn't
think of
work.
another solution.
Let's move
Like,
on.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go on.
But I will say, yeah, like if someone asks me for a favor or they need something from me, like of course I'll say yes. Like if you're my friend
Yes,
and you
you're
need something
generous
from me,
with your time.
I'm I'm yes for that. But if someone's, I don't know, can you join this book club that I don't want to do, I would say no, basically.
I say no a lot to my kids, so much that if I go, maybe, they're like, okay. Maybe means yes. I said, no, maybe means I'm thinking about it. They're like, yes. But you haven't found like a good reason to say no yet. So when I say maybe,
Yeah.
they're like, yeah. I was like, wait, let me think
Well,
about it.
It's not that I know outright. It's just like, is that going to help you? Is it going to help me? Is it like, I just kind of think of that. And if I don't want to do it, I just don't
No,
do it.
you're
But
just
it's
upfront about it.
It is different being, I heard there's a TV show called Shrinking on Apple TV. It's quite cute. I
Yes,
recommend.
I've heard
Harrison
about it.
Ford is in it as anyways, all the characters are excellent. I would put it on par with Ted Lasso, that everybody loves Ted Lasso. I think it's the same kind of like character development
Nice.
and all this stuff. But the one guy referred to himself as a dink. And I was like, a dink? What's a dink? And it means double income, no kids. And I was
Yeah.
like, I am a dink. Like that is true. But it's like being double income, no kids. You definitely have you're able to say no.
More often,
You know, I'm allowed to sleep in till 11 we were supposed to start 11:30, at 11:20 be like, okay, I'm getting her to bed now. Like, I'm allowed to spend money on the things I want to spend money on. Because I don't have anyone I'm taking care of. So I live in a very different universe than you guys do.
I am getting better. Instead of automatically saying yes, I say maybe. But I'm also married to
Oh.
someone who is like you, that his instant response to someone asking him something is no. And my natural response to somebody asking me something is yes. But now we're both trying to get better at just saying maybe.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe.
better at maybe. I do a lot of
We'll
maybes.
see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I say that to the kids now all the time. We'll see. Because then it gives me a chance to be like, do I really want to do that? Or am I just saying things because it would make other people happy?
Mhm.
So I'm getting better at that.
Yeah.
I'll
like,
say I need to think about it.
this is like the usual,
Yeah.
so off topic. Like, we're not even
Making
close to-
decisions. Making decisions. What else happened in this season though? Because we did some off the shelves. What was fun? We did other
Oh, we
things in
did.
this season. It was busy.
Never have I ever.
Never have I ever was hard because everybody, when the never saying that you never did was when you're supposed to make your like
Oh,
sound,
yeah.
and
That's
we're
true.
making each other's sound, and we didn't. Everybody was having
Yeah.
trouble deciding when to do it, if it was because they did it or they didn't do it. Anyway, that was probably the most confusing one we did.
I can oink. I decided to do the oink sound, which I always have a hard time with. I don't know why I did that. And then we did Would You Rather. We did that too. That was fun. What other off the shelf did we do?
I don't
Oh,
know.
you did. It's really fun. This year, Sarah interviewed different authors about their books. That's a
Yeah,
cool
I did.
thing you started.
Yeah, the mini episodes are called Author Spotlight. So authors approach us constantly. We joke that nobody contacts us, but authors contact us constantly. And some authors are opt into the mini episodes and some authors don't because they reach out for us to do their book, but then some don't really want to be on the interview. They just want us to read a book, so we don't hear back. But we constantly get authors contacting us or authors' agents and stuff like that. Yeah, so this year I've interviewed so many interesting people and I have more to come. A wide range of books, fantasy books, and then memoirs. And
Did you read all of the books? Like, did you read all their books?
no, so that's why. So if you're an author, listen, you just come on the show. I haven't read your book. I'm going to read what your book's about on Amazon or on your website, whichever you give me, or both. And then I ask some questions about it. And I just basically allow you to plug your book. Like, tell our listeners why we should read your book and what your book's about. Because last season, we had read 9 books. I just don't have enough time to read any more books. And also, sometimes I want to read a book that I want to read. So, no, I don't read the books. And they just
So
tell me
we're not
books.
promoting these books. We're just
The authors.
Yeah, the author's promoting their book.
But some of them I really want to read. There's a guy that was on just recently, Chris. I can't remember his last name. Anyway, Chris, and he's from Ireland. He's from Belfast. When he was 21, he wanted to ride his motorbike to Australia. But that ended up like driving all the way down to South Africa from Ireland, through the Middle East, through the Sierra Desert. Then he got a boat and then drove from South America all the way back up to Canada, ended up in Argentina before he got home. So fascinating.
cool.
Yeah.
Did he ever make it to Australia? Or we're not supposed to know?
He did just this year.
Oh.
He did it in this book, and he decided, his buddy was like, I just read your book. Like, so you've never been? And he's like, yeah. He's like, we should do that. So they just did. He just finally did it. He got the same motorcycle too. He still had it.
Sweet. That's fun.
And then the Dead Rock Stars, those guys were hilarious. And they wrote a book about, the 27 Club, the Dead Rock Stars, and how they're actually secret agents and they didn't die. I really want to read that book. So there's lots of amazing books of people that come on that I'll definitely read. And popular books. It's just that they're not maybe super duper mainstream. But that Motorcycle Guy's book, he has 1,300 5-star reviews on Amazon. Right? So, and he's self-published. It's nice to support some authors that are self-published or with small publishing houses. Some of these people are just with small publishers, so people don't really know about their books.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you're an author, come on our show. You have a little interview with me, and then people can know about your book. Because there's so many books out there that aren't getting attention. So, yeah.
It's interesting because if an author wanted to be on the show, the podcast, they could suggest a book they hadn't written
Yes.
that
for
goes
sure
with
they
our
could.
theme and read it, and then we can all talk about it. If I was an author and you're like, no, only fans allowed to come on as co-hosts, I'd be like, well, I love reading because I love books. You never can tell.
They could, because they often fill out our fan thing on
Yeah.
our website. And then I have to say, our theme. Like this year, I'm like, it's only books to movies. So your book isn't a movie.
Yeah.
It has to be pretty big to become a movie. So then now it'll say women's centered. That's not our format, but we have these mini episodes. So yeah, that was really fun. I'm going to continue doing that next year. I really like meeting new people and talking about their books. And next time I come to Canada, I will be definitely picking up some of these authors' books. Some of them I'm like dying to read, actually.
Yeah,
Cool.
cool. Very neat
Mhm.
new
Yeah.
addition to the Book Interrupted thing.
I was going to do one of the interviews, and I read the book.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Kept on trying to reschedule, and then like nothing came of it in the end. I was like, oh, well, I've read this other book. I like bought it.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it at my library.
Support your local library.
Support your local library.
Oh, you bought it?
Yeah, I did buy it, like an audio version of it. And so I had like notes. I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask him about this. But oh well.
Okay, well, I think that's the end of our recap. So that was a super fun season.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I can't wait for the next season.
Yeah, I like that it's women centered. I'm excited about that.
I also like that there's a couple like funny books in there.
I think it's a good selection. I've already started Kim's book, The Memoir of Mischief.
Eagle
Something
Testicle.
with a testicle.
Eagle Testicle.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember
that's all I
what bird it was.
remember.
Eagle Testicle, yeah. And it's so far, I really like it. So we'll see.
great.
But I just started it today. So that's it. Thanks, ladies. I'm glad we had someone show up.
Yeah. Surprise.
Anyway, so that was fun. I can't wait to show you your pictures. They're gonna be
Are they hilarious?
they're gonna be good. Lindsay's are not
Yay.
hilarious, but
Mine's not hilarious. My book is not hilarious. So
Yeah,
it's a very
think it's gonna be
serious
hilarious.
book.
I think Ashley's is gonna be the funniest.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
her
her
book is
moment.
about a drug cartel leader. So I think it'll be funny what she's doing.
Did my pictures, was she able to put me in the bucket?
So she's doing them right now. Anyway, she's just little comments she's giving me. And she's like, this is gonna be great.
I'm going
I
to be
can't
in a
wait.
bucket, Lindsay. One of the
I'm
first stories in my
excited.
book is how she gets stuck in a bucket as a child.
That's cute. Yeah, I'm glad there's some fun books because I saw what you guys were picking and I was like, I already know some people are picking fun ones. So I was like, we got to do some serious ones too. We got to mix it up. So
Yeah, because we sometimes go all in one direction and we're like, oh God, another book about whatever. Death and...
yeah, so it seems like this will be a good mix.
This year was a good mix too, and I think next year will. The banned book season was really, really heavy on the dystopian horribleness. So
Which is
it
funny
was,
because that's like one of my favorite kind of novels is dystopian novels. I love dystopian novels. And I
But it was-
read a really great one recently and I was going to put it on the Manuscript Mondays, but I can't remember what the name is. Do you think my library keeps a list of all the books
They
I've
sure
taken
do.
out?
Yes.
Yep, 100%
Um,
they do.
Yeah. Anyways, well,
right,
really
that's
lovely
it.
to see you both. And that's a
Mhm.
wrap.
Season 5.
Excellent.
Woo!
Book interrupted.
Happy New Year's, everyone! I hope you had a great holiday and are ready to get back into it with Book Interrupted. I do just want to start my segment by saying happy birthday to my late father. It's on January 1st, and I'm just sending you lots of love from down here. Happy birthday, Dad. This is Ashley, and I'm going to be talking about 2 of my favorite books this season and 2 of my least favorite books this season. And just to get the negative out of the way, let's start with it. My least favorite, sorry Lindsay, but it's The Hating Game. I didn't like the synopsis going into it. I didn't finish the book. I got about halfway, I think at exactly 50% of the audiobook, and I didn't watch the movie. I don't like romances where the people who like each other are mean to each other. I don't know, maybe it's because I was bullied my whole life. I really don't like it. I don't think it's romantic or cute or sweet. But that's not the general consensus. People love The Hating Game. It's just me. So anyways, if you're into that, The Hating Game will definitely be the book or movie for you. Now on to some positives. My absolute favorite book and movie of this season, and if you know me, it's no surprise, it's The Hunger Games, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I was so obsessed with the original trilogy. I watched The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes in theaters, I think 3 or 4 times, bought the movie when it came out, I read the book when it came out, reread it for the podcast, love it. Snow in this, ooh, snow lands on top. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? If you end up watching it, don't be afraid to ever shoot me a DM or anything to chat about it, because I will always be happy to talk about The Hunger Games. So I hope some of you guys loved it as much as I did. My second favorite book of the season was the BFG, Big Friendly Giant. And that's because I thought it was so cute. It was really sweet. It brought me back to my childhood. It's not a book I would have read at this time in my life without the podcast. And I thought it was a great palate cleanser in between some of the heavier books that we read or the longer books. So yeah, really enjoyed that. The movie's so cute. Audiobook for that is really great. And then, not to end it off on a negative note or anything, but my second least favorite book of the season was Killers of the Flower Moon. And I think it's just because I know so many people personally who have gone through such similar situations that I have a hard time reading it. I was the same in school learning about Indigenous studies. I have a really hard time learning about the bad things, I guess, that have happened to my people. But I do really appreciate Kim for how much effort she puts into bringing awareness to Indigenous peoples and their stories. So it's not the pick itself. I just generally have a hard time hearing such sad stories kind of thing. But other than that, I did enjoy reading the book. I do think it's a great one out there. So if you're looking for something to read, that's also a lovely one. But I would read The Hunger Games: The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes first. So I hope you guys enjoyed this season, and I can't wait to read everything for season 5. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Book Interrupted. If you'd like to see the video highlights from this episode, please go to our YouTube channel, Book Interrupted. You can also find our videos on www.bookinterrupted.com.
Bookies, we really want to hear from you. Go to www.bookinterrupted.com to find out the variety of ways you can get in touch. Give us a call and leave a voicemail, and we will play it on the podcast. Or write us an email, and we can read it on the podcast. Or better yet, leave us a review on iTunes. Anything, bookies. We want to hear from you. Pretty please. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us books you think we should read. Tell us about your favorite moments. Tell us anything. Please, we want to know what you think. So don't forget, that's www.bookinterrupted.com or iTunes, and leave us a review. We will love to hear from you. Talk to you soon, bookies.
Book Interrupted.
Never forget, every child matters.